Sciences, it's well documented that doing too much cardio can interfere with muscle and strength adaptations. This is often referred to as the interference effect. The first study that found an interference between cardio and strength dates back to the 1980s. This study found that when the participants did only 5 days of strength training, they gained more strength than when 6 weekly cardio sessions were added to their routine. Since this landmark study, several studies have supported the idea that doing a lot of cardio can interfere with muscle and strength gains. But the interference effect is not the same with all forms of cardio. By programming your cardio intelligently, you can still incorporate cardiovascular training into your fitness plan without affecting muscle and strength gain much. To better understand how you can combine cardio and strength, it's first important to understand why there is an interference effect in the first place. So cardiovascular exercise refers to any type of training that keeps your heart rate elevated for a continuous length of time. On the other hand, strength training is a form of exercise with short bouts of high-intensity effort that stimulates your muscles. If we compare the two forms of training, we see that they directly oppose each other and provide divergent adaptations. The best marathon runner and the best strength athlete at the same time. If you try to optimize both your cardio and strength, you'll likely end up somewhere in the middle. So you want to keep your training specific to the main goal. Another way cardio interferes with strength training is by impacting your recovery. So if you do a lot of cardio and that impacts the amount of quality strength training you can handle, let's look into how we can minimize this interference effect. The variables we need to look at to minimize the interference effect are cardio type, duration, frequency, and timing. First, we have cardio type. A 2012 meta-analysis investigated the effects of cardio on muscle and strength development. One interesting finding of this review was that running resulted in a greater interference effect compared to cycling. This likely is because running is high impact and has a high eccentric component. This causes greater muscle damage and requires more time to fully recover from. But cycling, on the other hand, is low impact and requires less recovery time. So to minimize the interference effect, it makes sense to opt for a low impact cardio modality like cycling, the row machine, elliptical, or even swimming. Next up, we have cardio duration. Research shows that the longer your cardio sessions take, the more they tend to interfere with muscle and strength gain. It seems that doing no more than 20 to 30 minutes of moderate or high intensity cardio helps you minimize the interference effect. But this is different with low intensity forms of cardio like walking. When you walk, the intensity is too low to produce meaningful endurance adaptations, and also it's not that fatiguing, so you don't really have an interference effect when you walk for longer than 30 minutes. Next to duration, cardio frequency is also relevant. Most studies that show an interference effect between cardio and strength have the participants do 4 or more cardio sessions in a week. If we look at research where participants perform 3 or fewer cardio sessions per week, we see a minimal interference. A good example is a 2009 study. When the participants of the study performed 2 30-minute cycling sessions in a week, no interference with muscle and strength gain was found. I've perhaps saved the most interesting one for last, and that is cardio timing. A common question is whether cardio or strength should be performed first in a session. When you do cardio before strength training, then the cardio fatigues you before you even started lifting weights. But then doing cardio after strength training may attenuate the post-workout muscle protein synthesis response. So if your schedule allows for it, it is actually beneficial to completely separate your cardio and strength training sessions. A recent experimental study supports this by showing that you gain more muscle if cardio and strength training are performed on separate days. Having at least 6 hours of rest between your strength training and cardio sessions is a good rule of thumb to keep in mind here, if you want to do cardio and strength training in the same session and minimize the interference effect. There's good evidence showing that the interference effect we've been speaking about is a local process. So lower body dominant cardio like running only interferes with lower body muscle growth. Whereas upper body dominant cardio, like the battle ropes for example, only interferes with upper body muscle growth. Therefore, another way to work around the interference effect is by doing lower body dominant cardio on upper body training days and upper body dominant cardio on lower body training days.